He knows how to live a great lifestyle, have fun, travel. I'm going to coin him the Austin, Texas Mr. Worldwide.
I love
Everybody,
that.
welcome to the show, our guest, Adrian.
Hello, ladies.
Yay!
Hello,
Hi.
everybody.
So good
Well,
to see you.
thank you, thank you. I appreciate the Mr. ATX worldwide.
Yes.
Definitely well fitting.
Yes, that needs to be your new Instagram title for
Yeah,
sure. I've kind of seen your new journey of being the Austin Mr. Worldwide and traveling, but the last time I physically saw you, you had a girlfriend. And
yes,
now I feel like that is no longer. So please let everybody know when and how was your last breakup?
sure. So once upon a time, I'm just playing, but it feels like forever, or like I don't know, yesterday. It's a very difficult timeline to, I guess, consider because it was during the pandemic.
Did the pandemic play a portion within this breakup, or what was kind of the end point of why?
That's a great question. So no, I think it was more about a mutual uh, decision to basically part ways and call it a day on the relationship because we were basically not on the same path or page in life, and one thing led to the next, and I don't know if the pandemic had anything to do with it. It just happens to be right when the pandemic hit.
Right when you guys were deciding to break up, tell us
Uh-huh.
exactly what that reason was. What was not being on the same page? What does that mean?
The pandemic coming along, it just made it so much easier to be in the same household.
Mhm.
And then discussions started coming up as to, hey, well, now with the pandemic here, with jobs having the flexibility working from home, maybe we should consider, moving in together and choosing a city and kind of making it more, serious, more official, right? Our
Yeah.
relationship, forming it, moving it forward. And so that discussion started coming up, and then we started talking about, okay, it's about time, engagement and marriage coming up soon. We've known each other for 6+ years. So when those discussions came up, and with everything going on with the pandemic, we realized both of us that it was not a good fit. We both did not want the same thing, apparently, and it was just the right thing to do for us to
So
do.
when you say you both didn't want the same things, did you not want to have a long-term end goal in this relationship, or was it her?
It was more her, yeah. So I wanted
Wow.
to make it official already, but then she wasn't ready. I guess we were not on the same, path at the time, and we've known each other for at least 6+ years, so it wasn't too fast either, right? There's no such thing as time in a sense sometimes because everybody's time is different.
Mhm.
But it's been enough time, or at least some decent time, right? 6 years, and
So how did that feel for you having somebody basically say, "No, this isn't what I want," when you guys were in this for a decent amount of time, and then was that crushing for you?
definitely, yeah, it was very shattering because it was like a very brutal wake up call in a sense. After all that time, all the experiences, sharing so much, family, friends, cultural stuff. I mean, all kinds of things, sharing so much, right, over a span of 6 years,
Mhm.
and traveling the world, and doing all kinds of things, experiences, right? It kind of just it was like shocking, brutal, kind of awakening, right? All at once. So unfortunately, that, like I said, over discussions, it just we were not in the same in alignment, right, with our timelines.
Did you feel blindsided because of that by any chance?
I actually did. Yeah, I felt very
Yeah.
blindsided because after so much time or that many years, I just thought, that was the logical step to take forward, or the right thing to do. Right. That's what I wanted to do, and I thought we both wanted to do. Right. So I thought at some point we were on the same page after that much time. So it was definitely an awakening call. Yeah.
So moving forward in whatever next relationship you get into, what kind of questions would you ask your partner that if you want an end goal, how do you make it to the grand finale of marriage without when you are feeling that way and then somebody's like, "Nope, I don't want that."
Yeah, that's a great question. So at this point, I think, from previous lessons learned and reflecting moments, right, that I've had the last few years, I think what I would probably focus on or ask in the next potential relationship would be that you know, maybe ask about their goals or their objectives, right? And they're going into a relationship, right? Like, or maybe figuring out what was their previous, most recent experience, right? Previous to me, and kind of see, okay, was that a factor related to what I just got an awakening call for, right? Related to that matter, right? Where maybe they didn't want something so serious and they didn't want to move forward with something serious, and that shows
Mhm.
a sign that maybe they're not ready to move forward in a serious relationship. Or maybe ask them, hey, what are your goals or aspirations in the relationship? Are you trying to go with the flow, see where it goes, in the moment, or do you actually have some sort of vision or thought of what you want the relationship to be, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Have you used that tactic yet? Like, have you done any dating at all since the relationship ended?
Yes, I think I've had some interactions, not intentionally. It's just traveling around, right? You meet all kinds of people everywhere, different cultures, experience a lot of different
Mhm.
things, and just in the midst of all this travel, I've come through some scenarios where I've had the opportunity to kind of, I guess, practice it or experience that kind of questioning when it comes to relationships, but definitely hasn't been intentional. It's just came about, right? So naturally.
Sophie, what would you say when two people are in a relationship and then it's a long-term relationship and you feel like you are on that same page and then all of a sudden somebody's like, psych, just kidding. And I say this because I've experienced this in literally my last relationship where the guy kind of led me along the lines of saying, yeah, I can't wait to marry you. I can't wait till your last name is my last name. And then one day in therapy, he's breaking up with me, moving to freaking Tokyo. And then there's no marriage from somebody that never wanted to, but he strung me along thinking that was the end goal. So I started wanting that, and then it was pulled away. So, what do you say to people that think you're on this path of marriage and then one person just comes in and wrecks that hopes and dreams?
I can tell you that I've actually gone through it as well where I was blindsided. And you bet I called him out as well. He was not happy that I called him out for
It's
that, but
true.
I sure did. Every human being has the right to live their life they want to, as they want to, whatever path they want to, which includes changing your mind.
Mhm.
Right.
That makes that really hard because every single one of us have 100% right to also change our minds and move into a different course of life depending on whatever changes are occurring, whatever growth you've gone through, whatever your preference is, whatever life experiences are pointing you towards, you have that right. Where it gets sticky, if you're with somebody who has that issue, and you don't know about it. A lot of times though, it's a kind of a backwards indicator that you are with somebody who does care because they're actually probably scared to tell you
Of course.
that they've changed their mind because they don't want to hurt you.
Mhm.
So in reality, the way I see it, the people, if your mind changes, your course of life changes, your expectations change, to understand that that's okay and speak up because all of us understand, we don't want to be the person to hurt somebody else, right?
Mhm.
But in these circumstances, in any relationship, you're going to have a couple of people that are going to hurt each other in different ways, in
Mhm.
whether you're together until each of you transitions on beyond this world,
Mhm.
or if you're together for a few weeks and that's not going to work out. Like, it's okay.
Mhm.
You need to
Right.
speak up and actually you vocalize it because otherwise you end up in the situation that apparently all three of us have been through, which
Right.
means it's really common. So
Yeah.
even I know people are listening who probably have done that to people, and it's all just because you fear hurting somebody else's feelings.
But in
But
turn, you end up hurting them even worse. And Adrian,
yeah.
do you wish that your ex would have just said something earlier on instead of waiting for this period of time where you feel like, okay, I'm ready and probably going to invest in a ring or whatever, and you're telling friends and family, and then it's like, well, no, that's not what I really want.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, like I said, it was a 6+ year, relationship, and I think if we would have known sooner both ways, right, both of us at some point between those 6 years, I think it would have been better to save us both some time and like you said, I mean, prepare ahead, right, for whatever's to come. We don't get back our time. And right back
Exactly.
to Sophie, I'm just gonna add, three things that I think really add value to what Sophie was sharing. So I think one thing that is really important is, like you were saying, communication. But
Yeah.
communication should probably come with some vulnerability, right? Because if somebody cannot be vulnerable with your partner, and open, then that is what causes that fear, right? Of not being able to open up yourself at the right time, because
Mhm.
timing can't be everything, right? And so timing, communication, vulnerability, I think those three things, combining them is very important in a relationship to have, and could avoid a lot of, wasted time or hurt feelings that are worse, right? Or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. It's not a waste of time. You learn something new, right, out of a
No, it's
relationship.
dropping bombs when you're sitting there chilling, watching a show, and it's like after, pandemic situation, because we're all locked in at home, I'm sure that gave you a lot of time to think. So at that point, kind of what were your thoughts and how were you healing during that time that wasn't a normal time for like a quote unquote normal breakup because all we had was time, right?
Right. Yeah,
So what
definitely.
was your mindset?
Well, it was a little bit confusing, right? I was kind of distraught for a moment. I mean, I
Mhm.
wasn't expecting, that relationship to take that turn after that
Mm.
long, right? And so it was quite a surprise. I did not see it coming, blindfolded. And then also, like you said, a lot of time on the hands, to not be able to do much out there. Got me thinking and reflecting, right? Well, let me reflect back on these 6 years and let me find out where things went wrong or where I could have maybe done better or kind of just see where I could have, figured this out sooner or maybe, I don't know, done better, right? Always seeking to do better. And so, yeah, I mean, I took that time to reflect. I put more time into home-based projects to kind of distract myself. Did a little bit more, more work than I was hoping to do because I'm trying to get my mind off things. Right? Uh, I for all means, I don't do any, drugs or I don't seek any substances to, let out emotionally because I know everyone's different, right? I don't do any of
Mhm.
that stuff. But I did have some, drinks. And overall, I mean, it gave me plenty of time to just think about it, right? And
Mhm.
get a better understanding, give it enough time to, get better and heal from the breakup and
Mhm.
just, move on with time, right? And then figure out where things could be better on the next relationships.
Were you
So
guys still texting or anything around that time, or was it cold turkey?
So it was an interesting roller coaster ride. So it was kind of, quiet for a while, or in the beginning, maybe a couple weeks.
Mhm.
And then essentially those weeks turned into months. And then after those months, it started to then ramp up again some communication where I guess you could say both of us had some time to reflect, independently, to all the chaos around us with the pandemic, right? And then we kind of regrouped via messaging, and kind of shared our thoughts, right? Those what everything we had reflected on and had time to think about, and essentially was open to having an in-person conversation, mature conversation. Hey, this much time has gone by. Let's meet. Let's reflect in person and kind of exchange, right? These things that we've learned, or where do we find ourselves after this much time and thinking, right? Like, is there a reason to maybe believe that we might get back together? Is this not going to happen? But if
Mhm.
not, then let's think about what do we learn, right? Lessons learned out of this to help each other out, right? I think it's a great thing to do. Always keep learning, especially if it was not, ending in bad terms.
Right.
It's how you look at it and how you choose to end things, right? Because I could have easily taken it into offense that things didn't go the way I thought they would, and I've seen that happen out there.
As we've
Yeah.
repeated on this show, is I am an advocate of you never redate because there is a reason. And so if you would have put yourself back in that situation, you're treading on thin ice of getting your heart broken again when that situation could have been avoided. Are you guys still friends or anything at this point?
Great question. So we were for a good while amount of time, maybe I don't know, over a year or two after the relationship, and it was just casually exchanging information or just in a friend way, in a very remote way.
Mhm.
Not so close of a friend, right? It became more of an acquaintance to some degree, but with the trust of the 6 year relationship, right? And then essentially, so I think what is it, 2023 right now? So in sometime earlier this year, she does come around and as a friend, right, tells me like, "Hey, guess what? Like, I'm about to go into a new relationship," and just drops that at me, and I'm like, "Okay." Like, I don't even know how to take that. Like, what am I supposed to say? Congratulations. I don't
Exactly.
know.
What is the point in telling somebody that one, the person that did the breakup,
Right.
what is the point of coming back like a few years later to be like, "Oh, hey, I'm in another relationship," or "Hey, I'm married," or "Hey, I'm having a baby."
Yeah, I'm not sure. I really don't know, but that truly happened earlier this year, 2023. And so I got
That's
that
when
news
you
pretty
respond with a "K."
quick.
Okay.
God.
Speechless. Yeah.
Girl, I hope she
Super
watches
emotional.
the
Like,
show. I hope she watches the show to think back and be like, "I shouldn't have done that." Like,
what?
who cares?
To me, that means you guys weren't done until she said that.
Oh, I mean, I'll take any feedback. I still don't get it. I mean, it's been like months, and I still don't know why I get such
So
confused.
the reason why I say that, because you guys haven't spoken since, right?
Ever since I got that news, yeah, no.
Yeah, you guys weren't done. You guys didn't break up in 2020. You guys broke up in 2023, my friend.
It dragged along
Wow,
Yeah.
that many
for
years.
sure.
Yep.
She was still holding on and was waiting for, again, maybe you another reach out. And it's like that's still hanging on to a possibility of, well, maybe we can, or if I reach out to him and he has like a negative, like, I can't believe you're in another relationship, then maybe that still leaves the door open a little bit for
Oh,
you to say, do you want to get back together? But since you're basically like, okay, yeah, now she's moving on.
now, okay. That's interesting. I didn't see it that way. I was just kind of like, what do I do with this information? I mean, I mean, this is a
Oh,
male
Sophie.
way of thinking, right? I don't know what that means.
That's why relationships are hard though. And I actually that's what really actually makes me curious is how do you feel you handled and grew from, we'll say, the first breakup, because then you guys went to a new stage of relationship without even knowing you did,
Right.
versus now that there's been no contact and you've just had to do your own thing and that's it.
Yeah.
How have you, how's the difference been? Have you noticed? Have you grown more? Have you, didn't matter?
I think it just feels. I think it feels a little bit more relaxing. I just
Yes.
so this is what makes it a little bit less relaxing when that friendship was still open there. Not so much because I was not trying to be a friend, but maybe there was some moments in that friendship where questions or previous experiences that were before the friendship when there was actual relationship or would be brought up sometimes for whatever reason, and it gets tricky, right? Because I'm not trying to cross lines from a friendship, right? We're no longer a relationship. So if you're bringing something from the past that happened during our relationship in a friendship, situation, it was something that could get a little bit tricky, right? The gray line. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I think now it feels a little more relaxing. Maybe that's not the right word because in my mindset, the relationship ended 3 years ago, right? So
Right.
Yeah.
now it's
Yeah.
like maybe it's like a different type of relationship. Maybe it's more like a friendship in the sense that's ending, but it was not my choice, and I can't force a friendship. So
I
that's
like
kind of
Right.
that. I like
Yep.
that. And I like that you did not fall for that trap. That was literally a trap.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good call, Sophie. That, oh my God, that makes so much sense. She was just trying to sneak her little way back in, and
Yeah.
she's probably like looking at you on social media and she's like, he's living his best life. And let me see if I can still be a part of it. I have this other person, but I've known Adrian forever and you're what she knows.
Yeah, I didn't even think of all this or piece it together and realize that right until you guys brought it up, and I was like, whoa, like that's quite an interesting, you know, possibility that I do see reasonable. I mean, based on some conversations. Yeah.
Mhm.
If the two people, if they genuinely want to be friends, you should be able to just be friends without there being the stipulation of somebody else being in the picture
Mhm.
like that. But if you can't be, there's an issue. And so she was still living just in a new relationship, like an open, we'll call it an open relationship,
Right.
where there was no strings attached and no obligations now, and you were feeding it.
The world started to open up a little bit. And so, where did you
Definitely.
go from there after this breakup?
Definitely, that was when I said, you know what, like, I'm at the right time, at the right age, in the right relationship status, and in the right everything, right? The moment, that flexibility, right? When, like I said earlier, you can work from home still during that time, and then it was still happening. I decided to, let me pack my bags and start catching as many flights as I can. So started, booking, itineraries and flights, and spontaneously, arriving at different, cities and countries. I could tell you, I was traveling sometimes one or up to three times a month. I'd be
Wow.
You don't have to think about what's really going on. All you have time to do is think about yourself. And
right,
again, as Adrian said, like you're seeing different cultures, different things, you're meeting different people, especially if you have an open mind and especially if you're not afraid to travel solo or, you know how that goes. You can ask like 10 friends to go on a trip. They say yeah. And then by the time it's ready to book, it's like nobody shows up.
nobody shows up. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Something comes up and nobody can go, and it's like, whoa,
Exactly.
okay, I'm by myself. Okay, I'll see you guys later. I'll send you photos and check-ins and tell you that I'm already
Yep.
here. I'm good, safe, right? Yeah, I started traveling and started, experiencing different cultures, languages, foods, and places. And I did a combination of solo travel. I every solo travel trip that I managed to do, I just grew, loved and loved the experiences and grew to love them even more. So every
So
solo travel I
cool.
would do, it just got better and better. I don't know. I just felt more comfortable with my own self, with my own space, with the flexibility to go in and do anything I wanted. Just
Mhm.
that solo travel is just beautiful. Let me put that
It
out there.
really is.
And
Yeah.
So do you think on all these excursions that that was kind of a boost and a motivator to kinda get your mindset straight to heal from your last relationship? Was that helpful?
yes, definitely, yes, because it gave me time to experience and experiment. What's out there in the world, right? Like, uh, there's just all kinds of people and cultures and way of thinking, right? And so got time to meet a lot of people along the way and kind of just talk to them, right? It's complete strangers becoming best friends kind of situations and scenarios. I mean, still talk to them today, and they could be over 1,000 miles away from where I live, but we keep in touch, and
Yep,
we regroup in a different country, next
yep.
year, and it's just beautiful. I mean, it's great. I think it helped me realize that the it's not just what's around you, but there's a lot more out there, right, to experience and experiment.
Did you have any, rando 90-day fiancé situations on these travels of people wanting to marry you because they're like, "Oh, let's fly back to America."
Uh, well, maybe more than two handfuls, yeah, more than 10, yes, at this point, for different reasons. Whether it was my energy, whether it was for interest in green cards or whatever, whether it was because I don't know, a momentary and the spur of the moment kind of spontaneous situation, right? I mean, all kinds of reasons, but yes, definitely more than 10 times.
Oh my goodness. So did you meet your next wife in any of these countries?
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe one, two, maybe three at most. But that I thought, okay, I don't know if wife, but like yes, like they caught my attention, right? Like, oh, I gotta meet this person further and keep open communication, dialogue, right, and try and see, where it goes. And so maybe at that level, but not all the way to the wifey status, not yet.
Not wifey
You gotta
status.
know when you know. You
Yeah.
gotta know when you know.
So would you recommend people that are going through heartbreak to take the leap and just get up and go travel the world and kind of see what's out there that's not even for relationships, just for their own well-being?
Yes, definitely. I think doing travel, whether it's solo or with friends, but more solo, you grow as a person because you are put in situations, unexpected situations that you don't plan for sometimes. And when you're solo traveling, you just gotta figure it out, right? You gotta,
Mhm.
as a person, you gotta, an adult, you gotta figure out and find solutions to whatever comes your way, right? Whether it's a safety concern, whether it's a lodging situation that you come through, or travel plans going wrong, or being caught in a, some unexpected accident out there, right? But being able to overcome these unexpected situations while traveling really make you grow as a person. And then all these interactions of all these souls and people that you come across in these travels really help you expand your way of thinking because you're used to your day-to-day routine, right, with your family or maybe with your friends around you, your coworkers. But when you get out there, you see people with different paths in life, because of their economic status or their cultural backgrounds, and just all that in the mix. You throw that in the mix as you're traveling solo. It makes you grow as a person.
Yeah, like you just end up coming back with this newfound energy and motivation. And I've always been the queen of after any breakup, I'm on a plane in a random place that I close my eyes and say I'm going here and then I go. So
Basically, yes, ma'am.
haven't had to do it in a while. Well, thank you so very much for sharing your Mr. Worldwide from Austin travels with us after your heartbreak. And you are thriving, and we appreciate your story and your time.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
Likewise. It was nice meeting you, Sophie, as well.
Oh, it's wonderful to meet you. I love this. Absolutely love this. And I adore what you've done, actually,
Thank
to
you,
be very honest. So
thank you,
props to you, my friend. Props to
Mhm.
you. This is
thank you.
amazing.